Laura Williams here from Sepsis Education, educating healthcare professionals on the dangers of sepsis and its aftermath. Today we're going to be talking about the Sepsis 6 and why the Sepsis 6 is so important. But I need to make a little bit of an apology. I posted yesterday and there was no sound. I only just found out, so instead of being in my t-shirt, I've got my scrubs on. Please like, subscribe, and know that I am going to be putting a new video up every Sunday, and I will be checking it in future. So what is the Sepsis 6? So the Sepsis 6 is a checklist that's used in about 30 different countries and has been used since 2006. And this is because it helps save lives. So this checklist is very streamlined and for a particular reason. So if you have somebody who's come into the ER or the A&E department and they are showing signs of not being very well, there needs to be a senior clinician that's called, and that's immediately. And that clinician should be there within an hour. All of this checklist should be done within an hour, just to let you know. And you will then have your O2 sats taken. So it's a little machine that goes on the end of your finger that checks to see your blood oxygen levels. And ideally, they're going to be over 94%. And what happens if they're below that? Well, what's happening is something called anaerobic metabolism. And what that is, it means that you're not getting enough oxygen in your blood. And so that's not going around your system, so you can kind of get confused and all of this kind of stuff. And it also then leads to tissue damage and organ failure, etc. But we'll get into that in a minute. But with that anabolic metabolism, we then get a byproduct in the blood, because instead of having oxygen, we have carbon dioxide. And that carbon dioxide, as it goes around the body, is a non-oxygenated metabolism, and it causes lactic acid. Lactic acid, when you look at it on the pH scale, you've got 1 to 6, which is acid, 7, which is neutral, and then 8 to 14, which is an alkaline. And it's usually around the alkaline stage. However, lactic acid is 3.86. And if you think of a car battery acid being 1, it's very acidic, and you don't want that to go around your blood, because that will cause inflammation, and then that will then lead to the tissue damage and all that kind of stuff. And what then happens with the lactic acid, it triggers something called metabolic acidosis. And that is because you don't have enough oxygen. So what will happen, I'm going to actually go back to the symptoms, which I went through the other week. I'll put that video in the show notes. And I don't know if you remember me talking about the fact that you are breathing really, really, really fast. And this is because your body is very, very clever and saying, I need more oxygen, I need more oxygen. So if you're breathing between 21 and 24 breaths per minute, they're going to be worried. But when you get to 25 or more, it's a hell no. And basically, it hits the fan. So you need oxygen, and you'll be on oxygen constantly, a high level of pure oxygen. You'll also have your bloods taken and an IV access. And why is that? Well, the IV access is to put in antibiotics and fluids, but they're going to take a whole load of blood as well. And what they're testing for is they're testing for your blood cultures. And what does that mean? So if you imagine a petri dish, what they will do is they will put whatever is on there, they're wanting to grow it. So that once that's grown, once that infection's grown, so a bacterial, a fungal, viral infection has grown, they will then be able to see that in the lab. And when they're able to see that in the lab, they can give you a very specific type of antibiotic to target that. Yeah? Got me? Cool. They'll then be adding fluids to your to the IV as well. And what that does, that actually will help everything go around your system a bit better, but it will kind of help bring down the acidity and help everything go around the body a little bit more. They will be checking your lactate levels, and what that is, it is actually your lactic acid level in your blood. And this will be done over a series of tests. They'll be checking your liver and kidney functions as well, and they will be checking your clotting factors. And why is that? Well, your kidney function, they need to also be checking your blood pressure. It's basically because they want to ensure that you don't actually go into kidney failure, which can then cause organ failure and then have a tumbling effect. And they're wanting to check that you're not clotting excessively, because what they're not wanting to happen is there to be a deep vein thrombosis, so a blood clot in the vein, in the leg, or an embolism, which is a blood clot in the brain, because they don't want you to have a stroke, all of that jazz. They'll be checking for your inflammatory markers, so that is actually checking to see how much infection there is. And they'll be checking your urine output, because that is also something to do with your kidneys. That's also saying how much is being filtrated out. So that's all kidney and liver, and just making sure that you're okay with that. And they'll also be checking your heart rate. This one's a funny one. Well, for me, because they will be checking to see that it's 91 to 130. If it's getting to that later stage, it's like, oh, quick, we need to do other stuff to bring everything back down. They'll be checking your pulse. But going back to the heart rate, I remember when I actually had the courage, it was a few months after, to have a look at my Fitbit level, because it registers your heart rate. And before I went down to surgery at 5:30, it was 169. And I remember after coming out of surgery, when I didn't have this on, the anaesthetist saying she can't come out of the recovery until her pulse is down to 110. So I was in there from 6:30 until 11:45 at night. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to give me a DM. I also am on Instagram at laurawilliams.sepsiseducator, and I also have a Facebook group called Sepsis Education. It would be lovely to see you there, and I look forward to seeing you on Sunday with a video that works. Okay, take care guys. Bye.